Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is a very special episode of Rockn Talkn Talk. These will be one-on-one based interviews with me and one artist at a time, as opposed to me and Lips interviewing multiple people on Zoom. Hope you really enjoy this. This one is a really great episode with me and the incredible Demolition man, Tony Dolan. I think you'll agree and see why it's so much fun to have a chit chat with them. So stay tuned, spread it around, like, share, and support everybody. Thanks so much. Kelly B, Pop Pixie. Everybody, it's Kelly V, the Pop Pixie. I'm just waiting for the incredible Tony Dolan. Hopefully this works. Yeah, just still learning the tech side of all of this, and there he is. So yay, it worked this time. And he's connecting.
There we are.
Yay! How are you?
I'm very good.
I think you have to click your video, maybe?
Yeah. On video, there we go.
Yeah. This is such a great way to...
We got there eventually.
Yeah, I know. It's such a great way to interview, but I think it's so new that people don't know how to do it yet. We've had a few people miss out, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I think because normally we do them, they seem kind of okay. But so I put the app on my phone, but of course sometimes when it comes through on the phone and through Messenger, if it's not through email, it said, copy the link and just stick that in, and sometimes that just goes round and round, or so.
Oh, maybe that's the problem with some people that are having then. Well,
yeah, and if you so I just went on my Zoom and it said, okay, just put in the meeting ID, which I did, and then it asked for the password. I was like, oh, right. So, it's all crazy, but there we are. Technology, like you just said. Where's the 20-year-old when you need one?
I know they're nowhere to be found right now. Yeah, I know. Or an 8-year-old for that matter.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, it's exactly.
So how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Been a very productive time because with the new album, we're just down to vocals now, and Portugal is the studio where Mantis is, so he's been working on stuff, I've been working on stuff, but we're down to our album with just the vocals. But we just closed down again today in the UK. We were open for Christmas, so I thought, okay, that's cool. As long as that stays open, I'll do Christmas and then I'll shoot straight to Portugal and finish the vocal. And then they locked us down again and haven't told us how long for. So it's like, fuck.
A lockdown means like you can't do what?
Well,
you can't go to Portugal.
Yes, you can't. Well, I mean, you can go, but when I get to Portugal, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks before I can go into Portugal. And when I come back to the UK, I have to quarantine for 2 weeks before I can come back into the population.
Yeah, so I went through that too, yeah.
So it's like, fuck, it's just nuts. So at the minute they said everybody could get together for Christmas and it was all going to be okay. People could see their families and stuff. And then as of today, they said, no, you can't. No, nobody can go in.
No. I'm sure we all really, especially at Christmas time, want to congregate. That's just the way it is. But it's, maybe not the smartest.
Well, that's exactly it. But, Kel, the thing is, it's like I had a conversation, with one of my neighbors the other day. And I said, the thing is, New Zealand, the Prime Minister of New Zealand announced that they had no cases and they were going to keep it that way. They were going to get the vaccine in and that because she was clever about it. She locked down. And if the whole world had got onto one page and said, we've got this pandemic, we all do the same thing, lock ourselves in, stay where we are, get on top of it, and then we can all open up again. But what happens is you get different countries going, we know what we're going to do it our way. And then within those countries, you get people going, fuck that, I'm going to just do so eventually everybody's going to get it. And, that's just, they keep talking about, it's gone crazy again, or there's a new wave, or it's the same wave it just is people just, aren't being collectively smart about the whole thing. Otherwise, we could have stopped it or stemmed it at least.
Yeah.
But it was just handled all wrong. I don't think you can blame you probably blame your government. Americans can blame Trump. We can blame Boris Johnson. The Germans can blame Merkel. Everybody can blame somebody. But it's like, what happened was everybody's to blame because they didn't come together as one thing. You know what I mean?
Completely agree.
It's a bit nuts. So I think we're going to have this for a while anyway. So
I agree. I've been saying for about, I don't know, maybe 15 years that, it will take something like this to actually wipe out 3/4 of the planet before we actually think maybe we should stop thinking as races and start thinking as a human race. And, it's close. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a horrible thing to say, but did enough damage to make people do that. And that's a shame. Look at what it's done already. They should have definitely done that. You're so right on that. We were talking last week about the vaccine.
yeah.
I mean, are you going to get it?
Well, I mean, I haven't made a decision to not get it. Put it that way. I haven't made a decision to get it. One thing that I do know is that since March, I think, or April, at least here, they were testing. So you could get a test and they were going to modify the test. It was going to be, it went from 2 weeks to a 72-hour to a 48-hour test to almost an immediate test. They would be available at testing stations, and then they were going to be available through pharmacies, and then you could get them all kinds of places, and everybody was going to be able to be tested. So that was April, and I live in London, and I haven't seen a test station. I can't get a test anywhere. Nobody's ever written about getting tested.
Yeah.
So so the whole test thing. I mean, my daughter, she's at university doing animation and comic art.
Wonderful.
And they made an announcement and said all the kids from university were going to be able to come home for Christmas, and they were going to be very clever about it. So they were going to stagger them leaving university. So they didn't all leave at once. They were going to stagger when they left. And before they left, they were going to make sure that every student, every university, every student was going to be able to be tested before they left to go home, so that they could go home. And in the environment they were going into, everybody was protected. That's what they said was going to happen. Okay, smart, cool. So my daughter had to book at the university when she was going to leave. So she booked Tuesday at 1:00. They went, okay, they emailed her back. That's fine. Thank you so much. Then she found that most of the guys in her, block were going home earlier. So she called and said, could I leave? Could I come on Monday instead of waiting the Wednesday? Otherwise I'll be here by myself. I said, sure, I'll come up and drive you whatever day you want. So she said, I just got to let the university know. So she emailed them. She got exactly the same email back going, thank you very much, Georgia, for booking your time, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, right. So when I got up there, I thought, there's going to be a protocol in place. Nothing. I could have picked her up the day before. Nobody cared. Nobody asked me where I was going, what time it was picking up. Nothing. I just drove straight in. We put her stuff in the car. I was early and we fucked off.
Now,
when I got in, I asked her about her test, and she said, well, we didn't get one. The university sent us emails and said, if we wanted to get tested, there's a testing station about 20 minutes away.
Oh my God. So let's think about this like just with the brain though. She's coming from a populace, getting into your car where you've driven. You could have gotten gas, you could have stopped, now it's coming back. Now she's going back when? How long is she there?
She'll go back kind of in the new year, so about the first week of January.
Few weeks, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is getting real. Somebody very close to me is in the hospital right now, a minor child, so I can't divulge,
No, I mean, that's it. We've got friends who've had it. I had it at Christmas, when we didn't even know it was there. And of course, I came back from Australia after playing a show in Sydney through Hong Kong. And then I found out in January there's this thing's exploded and they think it got away sooner. So I was like, that's why I was so sick. But I don't know if asymptomatic or not. Well, obviously I wasn't asymptomatic, but it's like, wow, I could have passed it on to everybody and not even known I had it. I mean, I just think, you know, we talk about fake news and all of that, and it gets mixed up so much with internet, you know, gobbledygook. But there was a classic example of you know, I'm not a conspiracist and I don't think everything's fake.
Yeah.
But there's a classic example where our prime minister, our government comes on television, tells you it's going to be fine because all the students at the university, they're all going to be tested before they come and they're going to be staggered when they can come home. But the reality is, no, they're not tested. They just leave whenever they want to. So it's like, what's the point of that? Who are you telling that to? So that we all go, oh, okay. Really?
Yeah. So there wasn't a huge kerfuffle made about it before it actually happened.
Exactly.
So, you know, and if it was, then they might not actually be coming home at all.
Completely. And now, I mean, that's cool. Okay, so the kids come home and you think it's okay and they think it's okay and it's okay. Thank goodness. And the government's, you know, spun you that. And then Christmas is going to be fine. And now they're going, oh, the cases are ramping up, so we're going to have to close down for Christmas in London. Well, why is that? Probably because you let all the students go.
Exactly.
Whenever the fuck they do. And now you're going to blame the kids. It's going to be their fault next because they're spreading it. It's like, but you said it was all in place and you're going to handle it, which is
And if people are allowed, they will, because we just need each other. You're right. Yeah, of course.
Kel, I think that's the humanist problem. This thing has done a few amazing things. It's stopped the world, so we've reconsidered our position in the world for good. You know, how much music, how much community is important, how much your health's important, how much we've affected the environment, how, you know, lots of things like that. Okay. And, you know, so it's kind of made us think about that kind of thing. And I think that's been a good thing. The downside is we can see how, you know, how we if we don't work together, it's more of a problem than if we do work together. The division doesn't help us. You know, it helps when, like you just said, when we're just humanists, when we go, hang on, we're all the same animal. So forget language, countries, flags, colors. Let's just be humans and say, all of us save ourselves. You know, that's what you would hope comes out of it. So,
and I don't know, you know, I mean, I rack my brain about this. It affects my life deeply. How do we get the elite wealth to understand the actual people who hold the power, the politicians, the wealthy, the people who control the drugs? You know, do you think that these vaccines are being rushed to Africa? I doubt it.
No, they're not. I mean,
you know what I mean? Third world countries, when will they ever get them?
The whole problem they've just came up with is that only the rich countries, because United States, Germany, England, France, you know, the Scandinavians, all of those countries that are wealthy,
have
pre-purchased the vaccine, amounts of vaccine before they were even finished. So they've already pre-purchased them. So not only are there a shit load of countries that can't get them because they're already pre-bought by the rich ones, but also there's a whole lot of countries that even if they could access them, they haven't got the money to buy them. So it's like, oh my God, we're now in a situation where, you know, Donald Trump complained because they give the first vaccines in America injections yesterday, and we gave them last Monday. And he was complaining to his FDA that, like, why is another country giving theirs before we do it? It's like, it shouldn't be a competition.
It shouldn't be. And it's going to be America first always. Come on.
Exactly. And I know he wants to protect his people, and I absolutely. And I think Canadian government should do that, and we should do that, and everybody should do that. But not at the expense of other people. Not at the expense of other people. You know.
what would it cost to vaccinate the whole planet? What would it cost to go to third world countries and make sure they have them in the same time frame that we do? Is it
You know,
impossible?
as an age-old question that's bandied, isn't it? It's like, hang on, if I give, which I do, but if I give £5 a month to a UNICEF,
Mhm.
then this little boy or little girl with an extended stomach, with flies eating its eyes away, who is going to have clean water for a month if I give £5. So you're telling me that our government can spend, I don't know, 120 million on defense, on new weapons, but we can't give them enough water.
And you know what? If we just shared the resources, we wouldn't have to spend the money on defending ourselves because people wouldn't fucking hate us. It's so goddamn simple, right? You
Yeah,
know, it's just a fight for survival, equality, the basic rights which we hold dear, you know, and I can't you know, and unfortunately, my friend and I were talking about this yesterday. Is it a push to eliminate the poor? Whether it's in cities, in you know, mm,
how
mm,
do you, I don't see how that is. You know,
you don't want
and
to
a
think
sort.
it.
No, I mean a friend of mine, a friend of the family. She was working for. This was maybe 10, 20 years ago. She was working for a company that were dealing with homeless people who lived on the streets of London. It was quite a lot of people, and it was getting near winter. It was very cold, so they were looking for places they could utilize to house these people, so they could sleep somewhere not on the streets in the middle of winter in England. And they found a building, and they went to the local governing body, and they said, okay, you can use this building. Now the building was an old structure in London. It hadn't been used. This building had not been
Oh,
used, okay, since the Second World War. It had been closed and had
ugh.
remained closed. Nobody took it over because it was expensive to rent. So this, 5-story building had just been left, nobody in there, and they were allowed to open and house these people for 3 weeks over Christmas, but then they had to leave again. And you're like, why can't they just live there?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. You know, we have these wonderful programs. I think right when COVID hit, all of the soup kitchens, the shelters, and the hospitals, the libraries,
yeah,
everything closed to the homeless. Okay.
yeah,
Where do they go? They are now have nowhere to bathe, nowhere to wash, nowhere. They don't understand what's going on. They were just put out on the street. We came
yeah,
up with this awesome program where hotels had to close down as well. Only certain chains are allowed to have COVID rooms. So all those motels, they put the homeless people in there.
oh my God.
So they're trying to get them on the system, get them the help they need, maybe get them the resources,
That,
and they're being housed in motels all across
that,
the country. The
yeah,
motels are not loving that. They are not loving
no,
it, but they're making money through the government.
what,
You know,
exactly,
yeah, and it's a real problem. And after New Orleans and the devastation there, watching all the poor people being shoved out of New Orleans and never allowed back.
yeah,
You're telling me
yeah,
our government wouldn't do that in a heartbeat to eliminate that?
yeah. And
I
it's another one of those things. It's about where their focus is. It's like, when you hear them from the pulpit say, you can hear Trudeau say it, or Trump say it, or Boris Johnson say it, or Merkel, or whoever, when they stand there and go, I represent the people, it's the citizens of this country. It's like, which ones? All of
yeah,
them?
not all of them.
Or the
Not all of them.
not all of them?
Not,
Not all of them. Because if
not
it
all of
was
them.
all of them, they wouldn't be sleeping on the streets, would they? If it was
No,
all of them,
no.
they wouldn't be getting out of their houses. They would have heating, so they wouldn't be dying in the winter because they can't afford their heating. They wouldn't be going to food banks because they don't have money. So not all of them. You represent some of them, and the ones
Right.
who are okay, who don't care.
Yeah.
That's who you represent, and
Upper middle class and above. You know, that's
Yes.
definite. There was I went to school in the east coast of Canada where it's very, very poor.
Yeah.
They've just lost all their local industries, right? So they got no
Yeah.
forestry, no fishing, nothing left.
Yeah.
So, and they gave out 200 and I think $40 a month to the welfare community, and they challenged their MP to live on that for a month.
Yeah.
And he actually came up with a meal plan that would make you just like, I doubt there's no way he ate that for a month. No freaking way. You know, and I'm just, that's I don't know in England if the low income when they get their shots.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, that's exactly it. The people who are at the back of the pack, or people who can't sustain themselves. So if you're not sick, but you're on low income, well, you're not going to be able to get there, are you? And another thing, we had a similar thing where an MP from London travelled up north of England, and this was many years ago, and he lived there for a month in a regular house with benefits, the benefits they were getting. And after a week he was the one going, this is impossible, I don't know how you do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're the one deciding how much people get to live on,
Now,
and you do it.
I'm very, as a sick person, we share the welfare system and the disability system. I
Yeah.
don't think you should be able to have 3 generations of children on the welfare system.
Nah.
We need to re-educate, retrain, support these people to get back into a lifestyle that's healthy, but it takes away from the sick people who can never have that. Like, I
Well,
cannot, as much as I want to right now, I can't go to the local coffee shop and get a job if I'm a liability,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's people in that situation. If I have a seizure or I pass out or I fall asleep, you know what I mean? I hit the
Yeah.
floor, they'll never hire me. So
No.
there are people who are stuck in that situation, and it takes away from them having a quality of life because somebody doesn't want to work a factory job.
Yeah. And I
Able.
mean, that's again, Kelly, that's one of the things. It's like, the systems are set up. When the systems get set up, they're set up to help people who need help, and you get people that abuse the system, and
Always.
you're smart if you screw the system. Yeah, good luck to you. Except that if it goes bad, it's the people who really need it are going to suffer, not you. They're going to suffer. You just get caught for rigging the system, and now you move on to something else. But those people who really need it, if they then penalize the system, those people now can't survive.
No.
And that's a problem. It's another, I suppose it's a danger of when people in the West be focused on themselves and not on their community. You don't want to use the
Very
word
much.
socialism as a dirty word these days.
We talked about this last time. Yeah, it's so true.
Exactly.
It's so true.
But it's like, well, okay, if in this situation, my neighbor comes and knocks on the door and says, I don't have any milk, and I'm supposed to have milk every day, and but I don't have any money. You don't have any milk I can borrow. I could say, of course, and give them some of my milk, or I could say, fuck off. That's not my problem. I don't need it, and I've got milk. It's not my problem. You don't. So, which one is the one do you think would be the nice one to do? The community one, the
Obviously.
human thing to do. And people think, I'd do that. Yeah, I'd do that because it's being nice. But then you expand that to people they don't know. It's like, well, why would I do that for someone I don't know? It's like, well, it's the same thing. It's a community. You don't know.
It is.
You need help.
And I think you have two people in the impoverished sectors where, they have so little that they cannot give it to you, right? Or they have so little they give it to you anyways because they can go next door to the other guy and say, hey, I just gave my milk to that guy and I need some sugar. You got some?
Exactly.
And the community is hard to build. As the cities get bigger and bigger, I find the competition for housing, food, shelter, jobs makes people turn into that.
Yeah.
Without wanting to.
Yeah, it's fear. It's a fear. It's a fear that's instilled in people and governments use that fear to turn it around. The Third Reich did it. The Nazis did it. The communists did it. You use that fear. If people are scared, then it's easy to control them because you offer them what they want, or you pretend to offer them that
Offer
they
them what they exactly
yeah.
pretend.
So
That's and I think that poverty, that struggle, that real suffering breeds the best metal music, does it not?
always, because
Always.
I think there's a culture of when we're young, we wanna push everything back, all that conformity, all that conservatism, and we wanna fight back. We just want to say, go fuck yourself. I don't want to do rules, and you can't tell me what to do. And that happened from Elvis through the Beatles, through the Stones, all the way to punk and everything else. And metal is the consistent version of that. And you can take a 50-year-old guy who at 16 was going to shows and was doing exactly that rebellious thing, but inside, as we'd never age inside, we only age outside. That 50-year-old guy, when he goes to see whatever band it is, Kiss or whatever, he'll go to that show, and it will hit him, or her will hit the person emotionally, and they'll be connected to that time that they
It's so true. Yeah.
I remember saying to an old guy once at a show in I think it was up at Washington State, and he was like, "Oh my God, I felt like I was 16 again. I could feel the tears coming, and it was amazing." And I said, "You know what I want you to do? Once a month. This is it. Just once a month. Please do this for me. I want you to get the wife out the house, tell her to go and party with her friends, make sure your kids are doing whatever they're doing. They were kind of grown up." So I said, "So just get the house to yourself. I want you to turn all the lights off. I want you to put your favorite band on, Motorhead, Priest, whatever it is. I want you to crank it up to like 11. I want you to just strip down to your underpants, get a tennis racket or a pretend guitar, and I want you to scream like you're in gardens." And I said, just liberate yourself, because that person that we were is always inside. We just constrict it and compress it. And when we go to a concert, we let it out. We let that person free. And then we go back to doing our day job.
It's so true. It's so true.
So I said, liberate yourself just once a month. Just have the house to yourself, kick this shit out, and just pretend you're whoever at Madison Square Garden.
I do that all day, almost every day. Like, my poor neighbors must think I'm insane, and I do. And it's one of the only things that actually makes all of my episodes stop.
Yeah.
Me just totally engrossed in the music and freaking out or singing, screaming, banging my head. And, it's a dead scene here, man. Like metal it's got to make a bigger comeback in Canada. It's got to be supported. We got to change this.
That's it.
It's driving me nuts.
I know. I mean, though, but I've been all over the planet playing, from small places to big places to big stages to small clubs, and everywhere I go, whatever town it is, from Chile to Japan, from New Zealand or Tasmania to Canada, East Coast, West Coast, Alberta, you name it, you'll get it, and they'll go, "Yeah, metal's not so big here," and everybody says it, and I'm going, then you go to Wacken, and you see 500,000 metalheads.
Yeah.
You then go, it's not so big, and they're not all from Germany. They're from
exactly. The fans are here. The fans are here, and they're loyal. For whatever reason, the industry just looks right over the whole freaking genre. And I'm mind blown. Because the fans are so dedicated. There's so many of them. There's so many genres of metal now to choose from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it became, it was consolidating the financial side of it. what Lips does now, because he wants to tour 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's just all he wants. And you look at their tour list and you see it and go,
That's
wow,
insane.
and
Every day.
We're out all the time. We do as many shows as we can, non-stop, no days off. Back in the day, because I said this the other day to someone, I said, the mistake is when if a band a young band, say, coming out, they look at Slayer, who've just done their last tour or whatever, but you would look at Slayer, they're playing back in 300,000 people, 500,000 people, whatever it was, and they've got all these flames, this stage show, there's like all this kerfuffle, they're making tons on merch, and they've got videos going, and they'll do a live album, and it's all this big thing, and you go, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. Of course, everybody wants to, but you don't get there until you do what Lips is doing now and what Slayer. We played a show with them on the Halloween. It was their only show in the UK. They played in London, and we played the same bill. And afterwards, we all went back to the hotel, and they were about to leave the next day for America. And I remember talking to Kerry, who was like really grumpy. Really. I mean, he's not like a ball of fluff anyway, but he was really, really grumpy. And Jeff sat down, and I said to Jeff Hanneman, R.I.P., I said, Jeff, is Kerry all right? He seems a bit pissed. And he was like, oh, he's just really fucking over the whole thing. And I said, oh, right. Why? And he said, well, it's been, we've been in Europe a month. We never been to Europe before. We turned up at the airport. There was the 4 band members, and the only other guy they had was Tom Aray's brother, who was doing all the driving, all the teching, everything. And in those days, there was no fucking GPS. It was a map. He said we got to the gear place where they had a van full of our gear. The guy gave his brother a map and the keys and went, Europe's that way. And these guys were playing non-stop shows, sleeping in the van on their gear. So when you see them and you presume they're being arrogant because they're rich and they're at the top of their game, you have to realize that they were sleeping in the van, wet, cold, hungry, for a month with nothing. And they didn't do it just once. It's like John Zazula had Metallica do. Those boys did America in a round, sleeping in a van, eating crap food and not having 5 hotels. The minute they finished, they flew to Europe and did 6 weeks. The minute they finished, they flew straight back to America, had a week off, and then did it. And that's what they kept doing. So now they live years with all the money and all the artworks and all the cars and all the la-la-la orchestra, but they were still kids. They worked non-stop to get there. And, that's the reality of the thing. And I think the industry changed at the top because they, like with product, from CDs and vinyl, before you would make money from that, that's what Kiss were making their money from, actual product. But the industry, when they went to digital, they realized that it could save them money. They didn't need to pay mom and dad's record stores so they could buy some vinyl. They didn't need to pay an HMV or Tower Records or whatever it was. The big one in Toronto, they didn't need them anymore as an outlet. They could do it straight to an online thing. There was no more people involved. The artists, the bands had to produce the artwork, the final production, deliver everything to the label, and the label just uploaded it to a Spotify or an iTunes or whatever it was. And so their overheads shrank and their profits stayed the same. The bands,
I hear so many heart-aching stories about just young, really exceptionally talented people not being able to accomplish all of that. And not only all of that, the pressure to actually write good music, to produce stuff while you're trying to do that. It takes away from the important time you need to create.
The creative side. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and imagine that you spend all this time creating this wonderful thing, and then you can't impact it. It just goes up with another 150,000 things where you might get 0.12 zeros of a penny if someone listens to it. So the point is that without the touring, without the industry supporting the touring side, and I mean, like you said about Canada, it's not that there's, well, you know, there's not really the interest there. It's like, trust me, the interest is there. You just have to be able to allow the bands to get there.
Aside from losing those iconic record stores, the venues that sold the products, which they're all making it now. Vinyl's coming back, merch is coming. We could have these stores revived, right? But we're losing the venues.
Oh, that's the other thing, you know. And
Gentrifying bullshit. I'm sorry, it just makes me so bad.
I know. But, you know, it's a bit difficult because places are closing even more now with the COVID thing. But, you know, you said about the vinyl stores. Now, there's an interesting thing. I did a symphonium a couple of years ago with a whole load of panelists, with music producers and record producers and product managers and stuff like that. And they were talking about the platforming. And I said, with two things that jump up at me. One is, it's very interesting that when Lars Ulrich said Napstar was bad, everybody attacked Lars Ulrich for being a prick, and it was all about money, and he just wanted to be even richer, and it was like disgusting, and it was all that. And then, you know, less than 2 years later, everybody's going, this is shit, we're losing loads of money.
Exactly. And I know that everybody thinks, even a small band with a few YouTube videos, done a few shows, they gotta be fucking millionaires.
Yes.
They all got day jobs, they're barely scraping by, they don't make shit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it must be even more so the higher up the ladder you go, right?
It's very, you know, because the more you want to tour, the bigger you put the tour, the more you have to spend. So the more you have to charge, and you know, you have to find the right agents, and everybody wants to take a piece of you. So you're the last of the. If you do a tour like we do, an American tour, we have to book our flights. Expensive. We have to get visas. We have to.
Oh, the visas, killer.
So they might cost $5,000 to $10,000
each.
So yeah. And now you have to buy your flight, so there's another $1,000 for each flight, or close to that, depending on when you book it. Then you have to hire a vehicle to tour in, and if you go modestly, you're looking at 2-week tour, 3-week tour, somewhere in the region of 18 to 24 grand for that. Then you have to have your merch made, so you have your merch bill. Then there's your food bill. Then there's your PDs for people to survive. How many technicians you have to be paid weekly? I mean, you know, when you get, and the agent takes immediately from the deposit, so he's already paid his money, so he doesn't give a shit after that. If he's a, you know, depending on your agent, he's already, so if it goes tits up, he doesn't care, he's got his money. So when you get to the end of the tour, you get to the very end of the tour, everybody gets paid out. If there's any money left, that's mine.
And it's all of your talent. It's like rape, isn't it? But I also learned, you know, the people involved, what's all involved, becoming a little bit of a promoter over the last year and a half, because nobody told me shit. So I have to learn so much. If people had to just explain that to me, but they're like, if I explain that to you, then you're going to get ahead and I'm going to lose. It's this whole sharing thing, you know what I mean? I contact other promoters and, you know, I say, I got some great bands. They're like, okay, send me the bands. And then they just side loop me, take the bands. Oh, yeah. They get the names and they contact them, and out the door I go, right?
That's it.
That sucks. And I can't blame the bands for wanting to get ahead and get on a bill or something like that. But they could say, but there is so much to that side of it that's really, really hard. Pulling sponsors, I think, is the most difficult thing.
Yeah. I mean, you really have to do your research, and you learn as you go, and it is a long learning curve, and you make more mistakes than you make positivity, of course. But you learn, and but it is that poaching goes on because everybody wants the business. Yeah. So you know. And you do have great agents and really great people, but of course you have people taking advantage, just much the industry. I mean, there's a question. My other question was to do with the record stores. Now, I said at this conference, I said, you know, what's interesting is, you know, I have vinyl, and I know like almost probably everybody I know that is of my kind of generation all have vinyl. And I don't remember it must have happened, obviously, but I don't remember anybody asking me if I didn't want to buy vinyl anymore,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
or
yeah,
music, or
yeah.
clothing. Nobody ever asked me, and I said, I think if I asked everybody I know who does that, nobody asked them either. But yet we were told by the industry nobody wants vinyl anymore, so they just
Who
stopped
said
making it.
who made that executive decision? I'm telling you, like as a vinyl collector, that's mental. That's mental.
Yeah. Now,
So
that decision was made by the music industry because there was a cost involved in making vinyl. Then there's a shipping cost, there's a product cost, there's a printing cost, there's a people cost. You have people at the plant, you have people at the pressing plant, you have people at the pressing the artwork, the covers, you have people at the actual physical plant for the vinyls or the CDs. Then you have the drivers, the shipping agents. Then you have the outlets. You have to ship them to all the places. So by the time it actually product gets to the consumer, they've got all these costs that they have to apply. Whereas if they don't have any of that shit and they just go band me iTunes, it's pure profit. Who does it involve? Nobody. I have a department who deals with my digital platforming, and that's all I'm paying for. I don't have anybody driving anywhere with shipping. If the band wants product, then we'll give them, we'll print up 500 they can have, or 200 or 100. They can have them, sell them when they go on tour. And that's what happens. So if you want to buy product generally on a lower level, you go to the shows because you can buy T-shirts or a vinyl, a hat or a CD. I mean, every band has their product, physical product, at their shows. So the bands have now become their own record store.
I know.
They have their own online. They have there. I mean, it's not not every label does that. The metal labels, Brian Slagle and Metal Blade are brilliant. Nuclear Blast are brilliant. Century Media, Napalm, they all want to give all that kind of stuff. But certainly the majors just want to make money and aren't interested. And that's why the record stores closed, because they decided they didn't want to make product anymore. It was too expensive. And
So
then
now,
they say that we don't want it. It's like, well,
so
of course I'm going to.
why don't we open up a record store? We'll just hit up the musicians themselves and say, send us your merch.
That's it. That's the missing link. The missing
I
link.
think so. Screw the record company. You just get it right from them producing their own stuff. And I miss that. Going to the record store, the smell of them, just skimming through it.
Everybody.
Other people, Yeah, I fucking miss it so much. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, going to San Francisco and then going to Amoeba Records, it's like up here at Ashbury, going to Amoeba Records, and you walk in and it's just like this gigantic place of music. It's like, wow, I so miss that being everywhere else. Sam's in Toronto, Sam's was just amazing in Toronto. When that closed, it was like, no.
I know, and
crazy,
as a street kid, that was our section. I lived in front of that store, man. I live like screw you, like that's our stomp, man, and I miss it so much. And the sign was in so many movies. It was just iconic, right? And it's gone. How could it be gone?
I know.
I wonder whatever happened to the sign.
Tower Records in London, Sam's in Toronto, and Young Street there, which was iconic. And I don't think anybody I've ever spoken to in my family in Ontario, or anybody I know in Toronto that I've ever spoken to who goes, yeah, I'm glad it closed because I didn't go in there. Nobody says that. Everybody goes,
no. And it's it was the fall of the industry, but also the 100-year-old leases running out on Yonge Street, and now that spot would have cost them so much more. Holy crap. You know what I mean? Nobody can afford it, so they close. But I also think, like, could we not even, I don't know, how do we save them? But I do think if we opened one, everybody would come back. I don't think.
Well, without a doubt. I think without a doubt. And, I think if you could save a church because it's a listed building, it's been there for whatever, and it's like always been a cathedral or something. Or you could, a government house because, well, it's iconic, or a pub that they go, well, this was the first pub in wherever it was. Those kind of things, those kind of music is, it's iconic. Imagine them. I mean, when they closed Maple Leaf Gardens, I was like, that can't even be possible. Those places are part of the identity of the people. Make it a museum or do something with it. But a record store like that, Sam's, was like iconic to the city. So surely it was important to keep it. Yeah. When you've got something that does that much, I think the city fathers need to look, because the rentals were going up on kids. But surely you have to make an exception for something that's iconic. You want to help to keep it there because it's iconic. So I just think it's a misdemeanor that they do all the time. The same with, the way they treat the music scene. It's like, recognizing it as being almost like non-autistic. It's like, if you go. You go see the opera, you go see the Philharmonic. I mean, that's art. That's art. But if you go and say Behemoth, that's not. Or if you go and see a Mortal, that's not. Come on.
It's very, very ridiculous.
I challenge there.
I couldn't agree with you more on everything you're saying. I know we don't have a lot of time left. I know they're probably going to cut us off, and we haven't touched on your music at all. You said you're. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Yes,
I know, right? I could do this all night. Totally.
We've today I was just mixing an album for frontline workers in Italy. Several months ago, some Italian musicians who I know from Rome asked me if I'd play bass on a Sabbath song, "Hole in the Sky," which I did just for some fun, which was great. And we did shot little, home 4-sill video thing, and we put that out, and it was fun to do, just looking for things to interest us. But it was so well received, and we had so much fun doing it. I thought, why shouldn't we do this? We should do more. Yeah. So we've done an album, and we're mixing it now, and it's all for charity for frontline Italian families who have suffered losses under the COVID thing. And so I have everybody from Snowy Shore, from Merciful Fate. I have Marty Friedman on there, Terence Hobbs from Suffocation. I have Ken from Obituary. I have Diamond Head. I mean, you name it. I've got so we were mixing that, finished mixing that today. I was doing it via internet with Rome, and it sounds amazing. So that's going to be out very soon as a release thing. So that's a Black Sabbath tribute kind of thing. And of course, we're finishing off the new Venom Inc. album, which should be out probably, I guess, around about May. April next year. So that's really good. And then there's a ton of other stuff we're doing, which is happening personally. Myself and Mantis, he just launched his new website, and he's launching a site. So yeah, lots of exciting things. Just trying to keep as busy as we can. And of course, speaking and trying to support beautiful people like yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't wait actually to hear the Krampus thing you're gonna do. I really can't. I hope it.
Yes.
Yeah. As people, I approach people to do a performance, and they're like, "But I don't have my band. I don't have this. I don't have that." But I mean, you can do anything, right? I think this is a great idea. I can't thank you enough for all your support. I think you're just amazing.
Community, Cal. It's about being hand in hand, like we just said, But I was very honored you asked me. So for anybody who's maybe listening, is the story is the night before Christmas, of course, which I'm sure if you haven't heard it, you know of it. And the wonderful Kelly here wrote Krampus before Christmas, so she really wrote it. Pretty cool.
I don't think Americans know about Krampus.
Now, lots of people don't. It's a Dutch thing, and it came from.
It's so awesome.
But it's really kind of cool. It's just a play on there. Krampus was a character who they used to threaten the children, and if they weren't good, Krampus would come and steal you or eat you or some shit like
Apparently,
that.
he could take you to hell for a whole year.
He could take you to hell as well. Yes.
I mean, just think, would our children be better behaved? Do you think?
They'd have more fun. You know, if you told kids these days, you know, if you're not good, he'll take you to hell. They'd probably go, "That sounds cool," you know.
Yeah, I know, right? There's a character nothing now, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's so great. So I'm doing some artwork. Hopefully, I can put that up for charity around Krampus. I just started it. But thank you so much, and you have yourself a wicked night. We're running out of time. It's gonna cut me off real soon. So.
Well, look after yourself. Be well. Give my love to Lips and to you. Be safe. Be well. Lots of love, and I'll talk to you very soon.